Gotta do this pretty quick since the AC is frozen and I have to turn off my fan for recording. Hello once again, I have another HDMI upscaler device review today. And I guess third time was a charm with this one because I got this one in a little earlier than I expected. You can kind of see here, it is an Enko brand. It's black. It was a little more expensive than the previous ones that I've bought, but it did also come with an HDMI cable. That seems a little superfluous, but having another HDMI cable is never a bad thing. And I've done some testing on this one, and this one actually does work for every system that I have. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and check it out. Like the previous video, we'll take a look at the more modern ones and work our way backwards, starting with the PS2 here. And what I did was actually wanted to do a comparison too. What you see on the left is the raw composite input straight into my video, my capture card. And on the right is the input through the HDMI upscaler. Now I've noticed on a lot of the more newer consoles, there really isn't all that much picture quality difference. Especially as you'll see here with Metal Gear Solid 3, loading that up again, watching the start screen here. It's kind of interesting because every time it loads up, it picks a random color and texture and direction, so that's a little odd to see. But I mean, the quality of the lettering is only slightly better on the right side there with the HDMI. And we'll take a look at the actual in-game footage a little bit here. The text is only slightly better than it should be. And here, in-game, the HDMI device is a little bit brighter, and the edges of things are slightly more sharp, and the left side is a little bit muddled and darker. Next up, we'll take a look at the Gamecube. As you can see, the brightness difference here again on the start screen, where the blue is a little bit more vibrant for the Gamecube logo. It was a little bit of a challenge finding good games to record for this, because basically to do a comparison like this I have to record two separate instances and then line them up. So I can't record a lot of stuff with gameplay because I would have to perform the exact same action. So I tried to look for stuff that kind of has a recorded demo that can play the same every time. So as you can see, the edges are again a little bit sharper on the right, especially with this star right here. But other than that, there really isn't a whole lot of difference, but the device works, and that's the most important thing. Next, we'll check out the original Xbox. Loading up Fable here. I find it interesting that generally the right side is a little bit brighter, but as you can see, the whites are actually a little bit darker. I think because this HDMI device actually gives a little bit better contrast. And I think the colors on the HDMI device are a little bit truer, like it's a better color fidelity through this device. Moving on to the Dreamcast. Loading up a bit of Power Stone. And in the intro here you can see again the difference in color fidelity. I think the right side looks just a little bit better. But I think the main difference is what you'll see here in the gameplay with the demo. Whenever there's fast action on the screen, that's where this device really shines. You can see on the left side it's a little bit blurry. The edges are blurry and there's a lot of ghosting with a lot of the fast moving edges. But on the right side it's nice and crisp. So that's exactly what I'm looking for when recording. And I'm not sure how well this shows up on TVs. And I don't know if this is actually noticeable unless it's side by side like this, but for my purposes, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Next, we'll take it back a little bit with the N64, and as you can see, this is a huge improvement over the last device that I tried, in that you can actually see what's going on. Loading up some Beetle Adventure Racing here, and again, there's really not a whole lot of difference, just the right side looks a little bit brighter, and I think that's a little bit better. And the graphics look just slightly more crisp, but if you want to use this device for your N64, this is exactly what you would look for. But the main point is that it does work with the N64. And from that same generation, let's take a look at the Sega Saturn. Loading up some Virtua Cop. And again, you'll notice a huge difference in the left side and the right side with a lot of the fast moving action. And just for thoroughness sake, I'll take a look at a PS1 game with my PS2. Again, I don't own a PS1 to test this device with. So I'm playing a PS1 game through the PS2. And we're loading up a game I found a while back called Mass Destruction, which looks like an interesting game. I haven't really played it yet. But again, you see a lot of blurriness and ghosting on the left side with the fast action, and the colors look a little bit brighter and better on the right side with the HDMI device. And taking it back once again, we'll take a look at the Sega Genesis, loading up Sonic the Hedgehog. And one thing I noticed about this is something I didn't notice while playing, but when I recorded this footage, the sound for the HDMI device is slightly off. Like the audio is a few frames before the actual action on screen. And like I said, you don't notice it while playing. And so I don't know if it's the device or just my recording method or what, but I've never really seen this before. It's something that can be fixed with, just general editing, but for my purposes, that'll be kind of an annoyance, and I really only noticed it on the Genesis. And once again, you'll notice that the right side has much better clarity at fast motion than the left side through this device. Again, I can't really recommend this device enough. This is exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm glad I got it. On that same token, we'll look at F-Zero for the Super Nintendo. And once again, the main point of this is that it actually works. Taking it back a generation, let's take a look at the NES. And the colors on the right actually look a little bit darker, but again, they look a little bit more true. Like the colors look washed out a little bit on the left. I'm loading up some odd Snoopy game that I got from a friend. And there you go, works with the NES as well. From that same generation, we'll take a look at the Sega Master System, and again, it's one that actually works. The previous device didn't register the Master System at all. But this one, there's a huge difference in the brightness level. Like the left side is very dark, and you don't really notice it while playing it, but side by side here, it's very noticeable. And so yeah, the image on the right definitely looks a lot better. Lastly, I had to try this on my old Atari 800 XL computer, loading up Pac-Man. And once again, this device works even with this old ass computer. Pac-Man was an interesting thing to record, as you'll notice here. I had to basically kind of just record some gameplay and just put it side by side since it doesn't have a recorded demo to play. But the interesting thing is you kind of get a little bit better color on this one because you can see that the actual maze is blue. It's a little bit washed out on the right side. But if you have something as old as the Atari 800 XL, this is definitely a good device to use for it. So there you have it. I got a request from my last video to review one that actually works, and I said I would as soon as I got one in that worked, and this one works. I'll leave a link down to the Amazon page below, so have at it.